what if the biggest threat to your success isn't, your lack of hustle, but the person sitting next to you right now?
Oh, that is a heavy thought right out of the gate.
Right. But seriously, think for a second about whatever massive goal is currently sitting at the top of your priority list.
Yeah, everybody's got one.
Exactly. You might be prepping for a critical presentation or putting in late nights to get a startup off the ground. Maybe you're fighting for a promotion.
To grinding away.
Yeah, just grinding. Because we have this culturally ingrained assumption about how we cross the finish line. It's always the solitary grind.
Right.
We picture ourselves in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel and just pressing the gas pedal as hard as humanly possible through sheer willpower.
We really do. We treat success as this closed physiological system. You fuel up, you focus, and you drive.
Right. It's all about personal optimization.
Exactly. But it completely ignores the reality of the vehicle itself. I mean, we spend years optimizing our own internal engines. We take productivity courses. We read the self-help books.
Oh, so many books.
So many. But we do all that without ever turning around to look at the passengers we've actually allowed into the car.
Wow, yeah.
The weight of those passengers, their navigation instructions, their general panic or all of that will fundamentally alter where that car ends up, regardless of how hard you press the gas.
That is such a perfect way to put it. And that actually brings us to the core of our deep dive today.
Yes, let's get into it.
We are exploring a really profound piece of writing by Muhammad Farooq Rashid bin Hakam Ali. And it centers on this fascinating figure, a village man named Kuda Bash.
Right, Kuda Bash.
Yeah, and his entire philosophy operates as a direct counterweight to that modern obsession with individual hustle we were just talking about.
It really is the exact opposite of hustle culture.
Completely. He doesn't just suggest that your social circle is vaguely important. He argues that your trajectory is inextricably bound to the character of the people you spend your time with. His foundational belief was actually very simple. He said the wrong path starts with the wrong people, and the right destination is found by walking with the right people.
And you have to notice how that framework completely decenters the individual ego.
What do you mean?
Well, he's looking at human destiny through an environmental lens, right? It's not about a momentary lapse in judgment or lack of raw talent. It's about the ecosystem you inhabit.
Okay, right.
If you place a highly talented, well-intentioned person into a toxic, high-friction ecosystem, their talent is entirely consumed by just surviving the friction.
Just trying to keep their head above water.
Exactly.
Well, to see how this actually plays out in a high-stakes scenario, we have to look at this major fork in the road early in Kuda Baksh's life.
Yeah, this is a great story.
It really is. So he had this group of friends planning to move to the city to launch some businesses, and within that broader network, there was a specific faction of highly intelligent, incredibly driven guys.
The guys you typically want to invest in, right?
On paper, absolutely. But their morals were practically non-existent. Their literal operating motto was, money is everything. The method doesn't matter. Success must be achieved.
Right. The classic ends justify the means faction.
Exactly.
And the thing is, in any highly competitive, purely capitalist environment, those individuals often appear to be the smartest people in the room.
Oh, for sure. They look like absolute geniuses.
Because they possess a ruthless efficiency. They've removed ethical friction from their decision-making process. I mean, if you don't care about collateral damage, you can move very, very fast.
Yeah, you can cut all the corners. But then you have the alternative. Kuda Bash had another group of old companions, and financially they were scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Right. Not the ideal business partners on paper.
Not at all. They had almost zero capital to launch a business. But they possessed this unshakable character. They refused to engage in lies or deceit or any kind of market manipulation.
So he has to choose.
Right. Faced with this choice, rapid growth with the ruthless geniuses, or a slow, financially precarious grind with the honest group. Kuda Bash chooses the honest group.
And he just gets roasted for it.
Oh, immediately ridiculed. People literally laugh at him, telling him he is choosing a path that guarantees he will stay poor forever.
It's the classic critique of ethics in business, isn't it? The assumption is always that ethics are a luxury item that, you can only afford once you're already rich.
Yes. And honestly, I want to push back on his choice for a second, just on behalf of anyone listening who maybe works in a hyper-competitive, aggressive industry right now.
All right, let's hear it.
Choosing the low capital, slow growth route just because your partners are trustworthy. I mean, it feels like a highly romanticized form of self-sabotage, doesn't it?
It definitely can feel that way.
Like when you are competing against sharks who are willing to do whatever it takes to win market share, doesn't siding with the nice guys sound just incredibly naive?
Well, if you're only measuring the short-term balance sheet, yes, it looks like professional suicide. But Kudabash understood a deeper economic principle here. When people mocked him, he just smiled and replied, "Being poor in the pocket is easy. Being poor in character is the greatest poverty."
Wow.
And see, he wasn't taking a moral high ground there. He was actually making a highly sophisticated risk assessment.
Oh, interesting. So he's framing character as an actual tangible asset on a balance sheet.
Precisely. Let's look at the actual mechanism of that method doesn't matter philosophy. It's basically an application of game theory, specifically the prisoner's dilemma.
Okay, unpack that for us.
So if you partner with people who are willing to cheat a supplier or lie to a customer to get ahead, you are building a business with people who have openly signaled that they will defect when the math favors them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You are assuming their ruthlessness will only ever be pointed outward at the market. But the moment the internal math shifts or the business faces a crisis, that ruthlessness is going to be pointed inward at you.
Because they've already established that the method is irrelevant. You are just another variable in their equation.
Exactly. Kudabash realized that poverty of character is a systemic risk. It is a literal form of bankruptcy that destroys your reputation, your mental bandwidth, and your operational security.
That makes so much sense.
Partnering with the Honest Group wasn't a naive moral stance at all. It was a comprehensive insurance policy against internal collapse.
And we actually get to see this hypothesis tested over a long-term market cycle in the source material.
We do, yeah.
As the years go by, the divergence between these two groups is just staggering.
Tell us what happens.
So the Ruthless Group achieved their stated goals. They acquired the luxury cars, the grand offices, the massive market share, all of it.
Outwardly winning.
Right. But the internal reality of their lives devolved into an absolute nightmare. They completely lost the ability to trust one another. Every single day was consumed by paranoia, defensive legal posturing, court cases, shattered personal relationships.
Which is exhausting. The cognitive load of operating in a zero-trust environment is astronomical.
that I can't even imagine.
Think about it. When every single interaction requires a legal contract, and every partner is secretly auditing the others out of fear of betrayal, your operational efficiency just plummets.
Yeah, you're not even doing business anymore. You're just doing defense.
Right. You might have unlimited financial capital, but you have zero security. Your wealth just becomes this defensive perimeter you constantly have to patrol.
You know, it actually reminds me of the concept of technical debt in software engineering.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Yeah, so that first group essentially wrote incredibly messy, buggy code so they could launch their product faster than anyone else. And to the end user, or the neighbors walking by, the software looks like a massive success.
Right. It looks like it works.
Exactly. But the developers on the inside know the infrastructure is completely compromised. And eventually the system crashes because nobody can trust the foundational code.
That's a phenomenal way to understand it.
Thanks. Kudabash and his honest companions took the time to write clean code. It took them much longer to launch. They earned far less in the short term, but their system scaled infinitely without ever breaking.
Clean code creates a stable environment. Because Kudabash's group operated on a foundation of mutual trust, their energy wasn't drained by internal audits and paranoia.
Yeah, they could actually focus.
Exactly. The dividends of their approach weren't necessarily purely financial, but they were deeply structural. I mean, they slept soundly, their homes were respected in their communities.
And the ultimate test.
Right, when inevitable market downturns or personal crises hit, their network held together.
That resilience in the face of crisis is the ultimate stress test of any network. Which, brings up an incredibly important question for anyone listening right now.
Definitely.
What happens if you realize you are already operating in a system full of technical debt? What if you've already made the wrong choice in your circle and your environment is actively dragging you down?
It's a scary realization.
It is. And this leads us to a pivotal encounter at a railway station in Kudabash's life. He finds a young man sitting on a bench, holding his head, just weeping uncontrollably.
And this young man really represents the profound danger of a compromised ecosystem.
How so?
Well, he possessed all the prerequisites for stability. He had a solid education, a good job. He didn't lack individual momentum or capability.
Yet his story is a complete tragedy of environment.
Yeah,
He tells Kudabash that he chose the wrong friends. This circle acted like an invasive species in his life.
that's exactly what it was.
They introduced him to drug use, pulled him into this spiraling cycle of debt just to keep up with their lifestyle, and then the very moment his resources were completely drained, they abandoned him at the station.
It really highlights the sheer gravitational pull of a toxic social circle. We love to believe in individual agency, right? The idea that a smart, educated person can just say no.
Right, just walk away.
But human beings are deeply social creatures. We are wired for conformity as a literal survival mechanism. The gravity of that group's norms eventually completely overpowered his individual education and career trajectory.
It's terrifying when you think about it. So, Kudabakish listens to this heartbreaking story, puts a hand on his shoulder, and delivers a piece of advice that just cuts straight to the bone.
I love this club.
He says, the most expensive mistake in life is choosing the wrong people. And when the young man asks what the greatest success is, Kudabash simply says, choosing the right people.
It's brilliant. We spend so much time running financial analyses on career moves, investment portfolios, real estate purchases.
Spreadsheets on spreadsheets.
Right. But we almost never calculate the compounding, devastating cost of toxic relationships. It's an invisible tax on your potential.
An invisible tax. Wow. Well, the young man internalizes this completely. He decides to ruthlessly prune his environment. He walks away from his old circle entirely.
A hard reset.
A total hard reset. And he begins spending time with a teacher, an honest merchant, and an elder who teaches ethics.
And the result.
5 years later, the transformation is absolute. The broken man at the train station is now thriving and highly successful. He tracks down Kudabash to thank him for changing his life.
But Kudabaksh's response here reveals the biological reality of human development, which is so interesting.
What does he say?
He rejects the gratitude. He tells the young man, I didn't change anything. You just changed the people around you. The rest of your life changed itself.
Wow.
And then he uses this analogy of a mango seed. The DNA of the seed, its inherent potential to become a towering fruit-bearing tree is a constant.
Okay, so the potential is always there.
Always.
But if you throw that seed onto jagged rocks, it dries up and dies. The potential is locked away forever.
Exactly.
You have to plant it in fertile soil for the abilities to actually bear fruit. He argues that human potential is identical to that seed. The right friends, teachers, and family act as fertile soil.
And bad company is the rocky ground that weakens and starves even the most capable person.
But wait, is a turnaround really as simple as just swapping your friends? Or is there a deeper shift happening here?
Well, the mechanism at play here is essentially psychological epigenetics.
Okay, big words. Break that down for us.
So just as environmental factors signal a seed to either express its growth genes or shut down defensively, your social environment signals which parts of your character get expressed.
Oh, that makes sense.
When the young man was with his toxic friends, his environment signaled him to express reckless, defensive, and conformist behaviors just to survive in that ecosystem.
Right.
His intelligence and work ethic were suppressed because they just weren't valued by the group.
So the turnaround wasn't just about updating his contact list. It was a fundamental shift in the incentive structure of his life.
Exactly that. Belonging is a powerful currency. In his old group, the currency to buy belonging was drug use and debt. But when he shifted his circle to a teacher and an honest merchant, the currency of belonging completely changed. Suddenly, honesty, diligence, and intellectual curiosity were rewarded.
It's like a different economy.
Right. He didn't suddenly become a different species of plant. He just moved to a soil that rewarded his best traits instead of his worst.
That completely reframes how we look at self-improvement. It's not always about grinding harder. Sometimes it's literally about relocating your seed.
Yes, find better soil.
But this philosophy also addresses the other end of the spectrum. We've seen what happens when you fix a broken life by finding the right circle. Let's examine what happens when you have limitless financial resources, but the entirely wrong ecosystem.
This is the paradox of the wealthy merchant who visits Kudabash later in his life.
Exactly. This merchant is the absolute pinnacle of outward success. He has boundless wealth, vast resources, total market dominance.
Everything you could want.
But his confession to Kudabakshish is chilling. He says, I have boundless wealth, but absolutely zero peace.
It's the ultimate modern condition, isn't it? having everything on paper and feeling absolutely hollow in reality.
And Kutabash doesn't offer him like meditation techniques or tell him to diversify his portfolio.
No.
He asks one incredibly sharp diagnostic question. He says, who are the people around you?
Ouch.
Yeah, and that single question forces a devastating realization for the merchant. He realizes that the people in his inner circle, his advisors, his supposed friends, none of them actually love him.
They only love his money.
Exactly. His actual person, his character, is entirely isolated.
This perfectly illustrates the difference between a transactional ecosystem and a relational ecosystem.
Right.
The merchant spent his life building a massive kingdom, but because he likely operated with that method doesn't matter. Ruthlessness we talked about earlier.
He filled his kingdom with mercenaries instead of allies.
Yes, and mercenaries only stay as long as the check's clear. When your entire circle is transactional, your peace of mind is permanently tethered to your net worth. The isolation of being surrounded by a crowd of sycophants who will abandon you the second your leverage drops, that is an agonizing way to live.
A well-funded prison.
Exactly. Wealth without genuine human connection isn't freedom at all.
You know, the young man from the railway station actually observes all of these interactions over the years, and he distills everything he's learned from Kutabash into a single diary entry.
I love this part.
He writes in English, life means with the right people, every time, everywhere. And then he expands on this in Urdu, writing that life isn't merely the biological act of breathing. True life is about walking with the right people at all times.
Elevating companionship from a pleasant accessory to the very oxygen of a meaningful existence.
Yeah.
It suggests that if you were walking with the wrong people, you aren't fully living. You were just biologically surviving.
Kutabash would repeatedly tell the children in his village, do not obsess over where you are going. Pay obsessive attention to who you are going with.
Because the nature of the path itself fundamentally alters based on the moods, the character, and the integrity of your companions.
Exactly. A brutal uphill journey with resilient, optimistic people feels like a grand adventure.
Right.
But a simple, paved road with cynical, deceitful people becomes a psychological nightmare.
The environment acts as a filter for reality. The people you surround yourself with dictate how you perceive the friction of the journey.
And the ultimate validation of this entire framework is witnessed at the end of Kutabaksh's life. The scene at his funeral is it's a physical manifestation of the fertile soil he spent decades cultivating.
Funerals are the ultimate ledger of a person's relational wealth.
They really are, and it wasn't a gathering of just VIPs or wealthy elites. The crowd was incredibly diverse. Rich merchants standing shoulder to shoulder with poor laborers, teachers, students, and front and center, the young man whose life he had salvaged at the train station.
Wow.
Someone in the massive crowd watches this cross-section of humanity and whispers, Kutabash shouldn't build palaces, he built people.
Such a powerful line.
And an elder replies, and this is the wealth that even death cannot snatch from a person.
Wealth that even death cannot snatch.
Eh,
It demands a total reevaluation of what we consider a legacy, doesn't it?
it really does.
Palaces crumble. Market share is eventually lost to competitors. Fortunes are diluted over generations. But the people you build, the psychological and moral ecosystems you nurture those, echo outward infinitely.
Yeah, they do.
The young man from the train station now acts as fertile soil for his own children and his employees, and the cycle continues.
It's a staggering framework for evaluating our choices. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, applying Kutabaksh's philosophy to an area he couldn't have possibly anticipated.
Oh, where are we taking this?
Well, throughout this discussion, we focused on the physical people around you, your colleagues, your friends, your partners. We've talked about protecting your peace and finding your fertile soil.
Right.
But in today's world, our companions aren't just flesh and blood. Look at your digital environment.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Look at the algorithms you interact with daily. The social media feeds you scroll through, the voices in the podcasts you listen to, and the influencers you allow into your mental space.
That is such a good point.
These digital entities are sitting in the passenger seat of your car every single day shouting navigation instructions.
They absolutely are.
So ask yourself, are the algorithms you engage with acting as fertile soil? Are they pushing you toward growth, curiosity, and deep focus? Or are they the toxic companions at the railway station, incentivizing outrage, comparison, and a constant low-level anxiety?
That is the question.
The path changes based on who you walk with. And today, the most expensive mistake you can make might just be allowing a toxic algorithm to dictate the direction of your life. So take a hard look at who and what is riding shotgun.